The Denver Broncos just had one of the best off seasons out of any team this year, obviously adding superstar quarterback Russell Wilson. And as a Seahawks fan, you guys are obviously getting an amazing quarterback. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think he is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. And he was just stuck in a really outdated offense with a pretty bad head coach in my opinion, and I expect him to be absolutely amazing here. And overall, just the upside of this team is insane. There are so many players on this team that I think could potentially break out, whether that's Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler, Javonte Williams, Albert Okwuegbunam, Quinn Miners, Netani Muti, Josie Jewell, Bradley Chubb could finally break out, Draymond Jones, Patrick Surtain, even though he was really good last year. I mean, this team has arguably the most upside out of any roster I've seen so far. And if you want to see the other teams I have rebuilt, I'm just starting this channel out, but I already have quite a few up, so go check those out. But I'm going to take a quick second to do the generic YouTuber thing. If you do enjoy today's video, be sure to drop a like, a sub, and a comment down below of what team you think I should do next. And if I pick your comment, I will shout you out in the next video and I will sub to you, so be sure to do that, and be sure to turn on notifications for my channel as well. And just to do the generic YouTuber thing again, here is how many of my viewers are subscribed versus how many are not. Let's see if we can bump those numbers up, you know. But I will stop the plugging now, and let's get into year number 1 of the rebuild. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Alright, let's get a super quick breakdown of the team here. So obviously adding Russell Wilson this offseason was arguably the biggest trade of all time, at least most impactful, because it was a quarterback, it was a lot of draft capital and players involved in that trade for a big name player. It was a pretty crazy trade. I am honestly thinking about making like an MVP bet for him, but I don't know. I think it could happen. We'll just have to see. I really truly think he is a top 3 quarterback, just very held back by his old coaching staff and everything like that. Javonte Williams was a borderline top 10 running back last year as a rookie, so I think he will be an amazing player this year. The receiving core is great. Jerry Jeudy was a high pick for a reason. I thought he was the best receiver in that class. It's just he hasn't really broken out due to bad quarterback play, but I think he'll be amazing this year. Obviously got arrested, but nothing really ever came of that. He's fine. KJ Hamler, I think, is also a very good player. Just very speedy, I guess. He could break out here, but it is a pretty deep receiving group, so we'll see. Obviously, I like both Courtland Sutton and Tim Patrick a lot. Albert Okwuegbunam, I expect him to be very good. Hasn't really gotten starting opportunities, and obviously with Noah Fant on the Seahawks now, he will be the starter. I do think he is very good. I also do like Eric Tomlinson, shout out, I guess. Offensive line is very interesting. It's not the best offensive line ever, but there are a lot of younger players who I think are very good. Obviously, you have Garrett Bowles. He was one of the best tackles in 2020. Last year, he wasn't as good, but he was still solid. He might have been playing injured. Broncos fans, let me know. I don't really remember. Dalton Reisner, I loved him coming out of the draft. He's been meh. I am a big fan of these two players right here. Netani Muti, I believe in college, just had a million injuries, or a few really big ones. I can't remember for sure. I never really remember injuries that well, but yeah. And his injuries made him slip, and the Broncos picked him up, and I expect him to be very good. Same with Quinn Miners, not the same situation, just a smaller school player. Senior Bowl legend, obviously, you've all seen the picture. Goated, and yeah, there isn't a whole lot else to talk about here. Looking at the defense, though, Justin Simmons, unfortunately, I do think is a touch overrated. I'm not gonna lie, but I do still think he's a very good safety. Kareem Jackson is just kind of old at this point, but I did think he was very good at one point in time. Pat Surtain obviously had a monster rookie year last year, which is rare for corners. Cornerback, tight end, linebacker, a lot of positions like that are hard to come into the league and do well, but Pat Surtain looked absolutely just insane last year. Unfortunately, a lot of the time when corners come out in their rookie year and look really good, they do have like a sophomore slump type of thing. I don't think Patrick Surtain will be the same though. He is a very good corner. K'Wan Williams, I do also think is a very underrated slot corner. Obviously with the 49ers last year, and I believe he used to play for the Browns, where I was a big fan of his. I thought he was a very underrated slot corner there too. But yeah, I expect him to be really good here. Ronald Darby has been very hit or miss in his career. He's had really good years, he's had really bad years. Last year was one of those pretty bad years. The pass rush here is very good. Obviously bringing in Randy Gregory. There was the whole situation with the report of him re-signing with the Cowboys, but he actually signed with the Broncos. I can't remember whose fault that was, but it was definitely the first time I've seen that happen. Bradley Chubb hasn't really worked out in his career due to injuries and just being a little disappointing when he does play, but I do expect him to finally break out here. I loved him coming out of NC State in I think it was 2018. So yeah, very good pass rusher there. You got some good depth there. I like Malik Reed, Jonathan Cooper. Nick Bonito, you drafted in, I believe, the 3rd round out of Oklahoma. Very raw player, but very fast guy. I think my ratings reflect that pretty well. 89 speed as a defensive end is crazy. I have to give him a dev trade. I forgot to do that. Looking at the D-line here, I am a big fan of Draymond Jones. He hasn't had quite the breakout yet that I expect he will, but he has been very solid for the Broncos. But I do expect this to be a big year for him. DJ Jones, I think, is a very good defensive tackle, obviously also with the 49ers last year, just like K'Wan Williams. And I don't know if they're going to play Mike Purcell as the 3rd D lineman, or if they're going to play Deshaun Williams, or what they're going to do here. McTelvin Agim, I don't know if they're going to play him. We'll just have to see how it goes. And then Josie Jewell was actually pretty solid last year. I expect him to also have a breakout this year. We'll have to see if they re-sign AJ Johnson. I think he's a very good linebacker, and I don't know why he's just sitting unsigned right now, because I'm not a very big Alex Singleton fan. Let me tell you, I do like Baron Browning, but we'll see. He's listed as edge on their depth chart, which is weird, but I don't know. So yeah, that was a very long team breakdown. I tried to keep it short, but I was not very successful. So I will reorder some things with the depth chart. Here, and I will see you guys at the midseason point of year number 1. All right, at the midseason point of year number 1, we're actually 4-3. I thought this was gonna be one of those teams where it just takes a while to become good, but we're surprisingly on track to make the playoffs year 1. Now that I said that, we're definitely gonna miss them. But we have some upgrades here. Let's check what that is. Jimmy Morrissey, all right, just a depth piece I signed. But yeah, looking at the team here, we actually do have some players developing quite a bit already. I shifted the offensive line around quite a bit, so now the starting group is Garrett Bowles, Natane Muti, Lloyd Cushenberry, Quinn Miners, and Dalton Reisner. And yeah, here's a look at the defense. And yeah, overall, man, we're just looking really good so far. Typically, how my rebuilds go is we're solid year 1, terrible year 2, and it's either Super Bowl or bust year 3. Most of the time we win the Super Bowl, sometimes we make the playoffs. It seems like I actually have pretty good luck in rebuilds with winning the Super Bowl. And again, now that I said that, it's not going to happen in this one, so I'm sorry, Broncos fans. I just feel like jinxing us today, I guess. But for re-signings, who do I have? So we have Kareem Jackson, Josie Jewell, Malik Reed. So, you know, I'll bring back Josie Jewell, but reluctantly. I do think he is a good player in real life, but he doesn't work that well for Madden because he's solid, but already 26. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with re-signing him, I guess. And then we have trade offers. I think I might just trade Graham Glasgow because we don't really have a need for him. He's just a backup now. So we'll trade him to Houston for a 4th round pick and a 7th round pick. But finally, let's sim to the end of the year, and hopefully we can make the playoffs in year number 1. Okay, I definitely jinxed it. At the end of year number 1, we end up missing the playoffs, going 9-8, which is a good record, but obviously not good enough to make the playoffs. I don't know why I went to the roster. I meant to go check the stats. Let's check the season stats though. So Russell Wilson wasn't very good. 4,000 yards, which is okay, but not great. 29 touchdowns and 13 interceptions is not good. That's like the worst season he has had in I don't know how long. Obviously this last year he didn't have as many touchdowns, but you gotta remember he missed like 4 games. For rushing, Javonte Williams was great. He's up to an 83 overall now. That's really cool. And Melvin Gordon was a very good number 2. 500 yards and 15 touchdowns. Albert Okwuegbunam was our leading receiver, up to a 75 now. Okay, 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. touchdowns. That is interesting. I think I'm going to change the playbook, definitely. Cortland Sutton with 900 yards and 8 touchdowns. Jerry Jeudy with only 900 yards and only 2 touchdowns. Interesting. KJ Hamler, for some reason, was the 3, even though I had Tim Patrick listed above him. But I'm fine with that because KJ Hamler is younger, has a lot more potential. 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. For blocking, wow, we were really good this year. Holy shit. So Garrett Bowles was the only one that was kind of meh, letting up 9 sacks, but Dalton Reisner only let up 4 sacks as a tackle. And combined, our interior only had 3 sacks. That is, Russell Wilson must be in heaven right now. That is genuinely what, 9, 13, that is 16 sacks all year. Those might be the lowest sack numbers I have ever seen in this game. That is insane. Josie Jewell led the team in tackles with 121. Randy Gregory and Draymond Jones each had 13 tackles for loss. Mike Purcell at 11, Bradley Chubb at 9. But in terms of sacks, we had next to none. Bradley Chubb led the team with only 5. Randy Gregory and Draymond Jones each only getting 4.5. And then only 2 sacks outside of that. So this is just the no sack team, the castration team, if you will. That's fucked up, but yeah, we got no sacks on defense and we let up no sacks on offense. This is the castration team, I guess. For interceptions, no picks either. No sacks and no picks. God, I'm so mature. 2 picks from each safety, and then only 3 combined picks for the rest of the team. Wow, this was a very polarizing team. And we were probably 16th in offense and 16th in defense. No, we were 6th in defense. Okay, so we had a pretty good defense, but let's check yearly awards. This has been definitely the start to a rebuild of all time, that's for sure. Kyler Murray wins MVP. Normally he doesn't do very well in Madden Sim, but here apparently he does very well. No Broncos, unfortunately, and we are AFC, so offensive player of the year, no Broncos. We see Bill Cosby in there, but no Broncos, unfortunately. Defensive player of the year, also no Broncos. Very cool. Offensive rookie of the year, I thought it was going to be more Broncos, but no, we have Javonte Williams at 6. Very cool. George Karlaftis is a god in this game, at least the version of George Karlaftis that I created. It seems like he always wins defensive rookie of the year, probably because he's on the Chiefs, but no Broncos in there, sadly. So yeah, really weird first year. But I guess there's nothing else to really do here. Let's sim to the end of the year. Or the offseason, not the end of the year. I'm fucking stupid, dude. Okay, so the Baltimore Ravens destroyed the Dallas Cowboys 24-7 in the Super Bowl. But let's see if we have any new re-signings. For some reason, I don't know why there would be, but I really don't think we're going to be re-signing anyone here. No, it didn't. I thought it was gonna disconnect it from the internet. It did not, though. So yeah, there's really nobody I want to resign here. Kareem Jackson's down to a 75. I'm good. Malik Reed is just a depth piece. Yeah, there's really nobody here I want. I guess Seth Williams to be a backup receiver, and that's about it. So yeah, there's nobody really here to resign, which is kind of a good thing because, you know, we don't have to worry about that, but it's also kind of a bad thing because that means we're not going to have much money to go into free agency with. So speaking of free agency, let's see if there's anyone good here. And the answer is unsurprisingly no. For some reason, every year in my rebuilds, there's nobody in free agency year 1 because of my rosters, and it's a long story. It's annoying, but there's nothing I can really do about it because you can't edit contracts in Madden. But yeah, I don't even know if there's anyone I really want here. Also, I realized I had my controller up on my desk this whole time, so there's probably clicking. I am terribly sorry. I'm new to this whole thing. Not really, but Madden YouTube, yes. So I do think I want a defensive tackle. Let's bring in Shy Tuttle, one of the best names out of any NFL player. And honestly, he's a pretty solid defensive tackle, so let's try to bring him in just to have for sure a good defensive tackle. There are no good pass rushers here, really. I do kind of want one, though, but yeah, meh. And linebacker is kind of a need, but there's nobody here I would really want, to be honest. So it looks like there isn't a whole lot here for us, unfortunately. I guess I'll offer Nick and Needham a contract, but I guess this is a pretty good year to not have much money. So we'll see if these two players sign, and after that, let's get into the 2023 NFL Draft. Okay, so those two players do sign with us. That is pretty big, honestly. That fills two pretty big holes on this team. I guess not so much Nick Needham, but Shy Tuttle definitely does. We had really no good defensive tackles, so that's a pretty big one. We're up to an 81 overall, and hopefully there's some good players in this draft. Alright, so I had to do this myself because you can't really update what teams have what draft picks in Madden, because again, the game kind of sucks. So I had to trade our first and second round pick to the Seattle Seahawks because obviously they don't have them because of the Russell Wilson trade. But the New York Giants actually have the #1 overall pick here, which I think is a new one, so that's kind of cool. But let's sim to our first pick, which is unfortunately in the 3rd round. And I think what I'm going to look at is either safety, linebacker, maybe D-line. Let's take a look. Alright, so I did see a pretty good looking linebacker here in Deshaun Blade. He is 23 years old. He's 6'2", 231 pounds out of Temple. He ran a 4.67 at the combine. He has B block shed, C power moves, B impact block, A tackle. He looks pretty good, right? But we have defensive tackle fully scouted here, and I see Marquise Riley. Now, something cool I didn't even know until recently, admittedly, is if you have a position fully scouted, it will show actually how good they are, and he is actually a 1st to 2nd round talent. Now, it's not like the old Madden where it would say that, but it wasn't necessarily true. This is like legit, and I don't think there are any other players in here that good. I do see Cam Gordon, who is a 2nd to 3rd round talent, but that's really it. And I know this is at least a guaranteed good player, so I think he is the move. Ooh, he's 24. You know, I'm actually gonna abort that. I'm gonna go with Deshaun Blade, so I just baited you guys twice. We are actually going to go with Deshaun Blade. And you guys already know everything about him, you already saw it, and unfortunately he does only have normal dev, but he has 82 speed, 91 excel, pretty fast linebacker. I'm guessing from him being 231 pounds that he is an off-ball linebacker, which is why I drafted him, but he could very well be an edge, knowing Madden. 231 pounds would be small for an edge, but he's probably a speed rusher or something. I don't know, we'll see, but either way, he looks like a pretty good player. Zach Fox just went, that's interesting. Don't know if that's the same Zach Fox as real life. But yeah, that one defensive tackle is unfortunately gone, and same with the other one, the 2nd to 3rd round talent guy. So honestly, I think this is going to be the last pick I take, because obviously we didn't have a 1st or 2nd round pick, but we're going to take Daryl Odin, or Darrell. It's definitely Darrell, I don't know why I said Daryl. Darrell Odin out of Boise State. He's 6'6", 306, only 22 years old. Ran a 5.3, which is ungodly slow, but 36 reps on the bench is really nice. He has B play rec, B block shed, B impact block. So not the best looking player, but he is a projected 3rd to 4th round player, so let's take him. And he unfortunately does have normal. I was kind of banking on him having star or something, but unfortunately only normal. So with that, I'm just going to sim out the rest of the draft, and hopefully it picks us some good players. Alright, here's a recap of the draft, and it looks like, unfortunately, we did really terribly. Deshaun Blade is only a 67 overall. Let me move him into middle linebacker where he's actually going to play, but I don't even think he's going to be good at that because he is only a 54 overall in pass coverage. That's not ideal. He has 42 zone, 51. He has better man than zone. That's interesting. He does, however, look pretty good in run defense. 82 tackle with that +3 from morale or whatever. 78 pursuit, 75 block shed, so good run defender, just really bad in coverage, as is the case with a lot of linebackers. Darrell Odin does look a little better, but still not great. 89 strength, 68 power move, 74 block shed, 74 tackle, 78 excel, even though he only has 61 speed. But yeah, he's a 68 overall. I just moved back from my mic, so that was probably really quiet, but oh well. The CPU drafted Christian Benton, he's whatever, probably won't even make the team. Daniel Moss looks okay, he's very fast, he's kind of just like KJ Hamler. He's just kind of a pure deep threat though, so meh. It drafted a QB and another receiver, so that was probably the worst draft I've ever had. I'll give myself a pass because I didn't have my first 2 picks, but not ideal. Alright, so I am going to switch the playbook here to Tampa Bay, which is kind of a broken playbook in Madden, at least in this year's, because I really don't like the Broncos playbook. It's too run heavy for what this offense will probably be in real life. Although they do have two good running backs, the receiving core and quarterback combo is too good to not utilize. Plus, it's just what you want to do in the modern NFL, just pass. I don't know why I went out of the screen, but let's take a look at the roster going into year number 2. Obviously, Russell Wilson still at a 93. Javonte Williams is obviously going to be our starting running back again. The receiving core is developing slowly but surely. Not too much development there, though. Each player went up a 1 overall. KJ Hamler went up a couple. Albert Okwuegbunam got star dev, which is very nice. He's looking like a very good player. The O-line was insane last year, partially probably because we were a more run-heavy offense. They didn't really get as many opportunities to let up a sack, but it's still, you know, they did really well regardless. The defense here, not a whole lot has changed. Pat Surtain, obviously a superstar. We added Shai Tuttle. We no longer have Kareem Jackson. I'm going to be starting Jamar Johnson. We'll see how that goes. I think we're going to play Nick Needham and Michael Ojemudia because they have star dev and they're both pretty young. And here is a look at these specialists like edge rushers and stuff like that. Hopefully we can get more production there this year. But yeah, this is a pretty good looking team. I'm excited to see how we do this year and especially next year, but without further ado, let's get into the mid-season point of year number 2. I almost said year number 1. I am fucking dumb. That rhymes. Okay, what the fuck? At the mid-season point of year number 2, we are 7-0. I'm gonna show you guys that I'm not cheating. How do I schedule? I don't think anyone really cheats in rebuilds to force wins, because kind of what's the point? But yeah, no force wins, obviously. We've been playing some close-ish games, but a lot of them have just been a couple of them haven't really been, I guess it's kind of just a mix. We shit on the Seahawks, which is sad as a Seahawks fan, but you know, it's good here, I guess. But in terms of upgrades, just some random depth pieces, and Nick Needham I will go into slot. Also, quick tip for anyone who kind of does this kind of stuff, always do slot upgrades for corners, no matter what their thing is. Or, well, I guess if they're a man corner, go slot, because it gives a lot of man coverage, and yeah, it bumps them up 1 or 2 overall every time. Most of the time, 2. But let's check out re-signings. Who do we have here? So we have Bradley Chubb, Dalton Reisner. Okay, so some solid players, but nobody crazy here. Nobody too big. So we bring Bradley Chubb back. Let's offer Dalton Reisner a 3-year, $21 million. Very cool. And Draymond Jones, 2 years, $12. Let's bump that up to 4 years, $25, and very cool. He accepts too. And then the rest of these players are just kind of depth pieces, so meh. I guess I'll bring back Sam Martin just so we don't really have to worry about punter, okay? I'm glad all of our players are being so cool about this. It's very rare. Most of the time I get rejected by everyone, just like women in real life. Let's go. So let's sim to the end of the year, and hopefully, I don't even want to say what I was going to say. Let's just sim to the playoffs. Okay, at the end of year number 2, we finished 13-4. Now, I honestly kind of thought we were going to collapse, and I'm kind of surprised that we didn't. But we had an amazing year. Russell Wilson had 5,200 yards, 40 touchdowns, did have 14 picks. This kind of reminds me of one of his in real life seasons. Okay, yeah, in 2020, Russell Wilson had 4,200 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions with a 68% completion percentage, so a lot of it was the same here. Obviously, 40 touchdowns, 13 picks, and a 68% completion percentage. That's kind of interesting. The running game took a big step back this year. Javonte Williams, under 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns, though. What's he up to? He's up to an 85 overall at only 22 years old. That's insane. Melvin Gordon was a solid backup, 400 yards, 6 touchdowns. Receiving, though, oh my god. So I see a few insane things here. So Cortland Sutton had 1,500 yards and 8 touchdowns. Jerry Jeudy had 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns, which is a really good amount of yards. KJ Hamler was pretty good, just under 1,000 yards with 9 touchdowns. Albert Okwuegbunam had 800, almost 900 yards, and 14 touchdowns. Goddamn, bro. In terms of blocking, Quinn Miners let up 0 sacks on the year. Jesus Christ. Netane Muti only let up 2. Lloyd Cushenberry let up 5, which is kind of a lot for a center. And the tackles overall were pretty good. Garrett Bowles let up 10. Dalton Reisner let up 9. Okay, I see something. So Josie Jewell, actually I see a few things. Josie Jewell had 120 tackles. Nick Needham had 104. For tackles for loss, Bradley Chubb had 22. Goddamn. Draymond Jones had 13. Randy Gregory had 12. DJ Jones had 10. And for sack, Randy Gregory had 15 and a half. Draymond Jones had 9. Bradley Chubb had 8 and a half. So we definitely brought those sack numbers up this year. We must have took a trip to a gay bar or something, I don't know. But Justin Simmons and Nick Needham each had 3 picks, which is very cool. Josie Jewell had 2 picks. He had a pretty good year. 120 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, a sack, 2 picks, 4 pass deflections. Pretty good year. Michael Ojemudia had 2 picks, and Pat Surtain had 2 picks. And then I saw Randy Gregory had an interception. That's definitely interesting. So we led the league in offensive yards this year, and we were 3rd for defensive yards. This was a very good team. For MVP, Russell Wilson unfortunately comes in 4th, but that's about what I expected. This is Offensive Player of the Year. He comes in number 3 for Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year goes to Khalil Mack. We see Randy Gregory at 4. I kind of thought he was going to be higher, but I'll take that. And Bradley Chubb at number 8. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, no Broncos. And Defensive Rookie of the Year, Deshaun Blade comes in at number 10. Okay, that's cool. But here in the playoffs, obviously we have a first round bye. We do have some upgrades here before I sim a week. Just some depth pieces. Let me upgrade Deshaun Blade. I'll give him Field General to Hope for coverage, and we get 3 zone. That's pretty good. So let's sim a week, and let's see who we are going to take on in the playoffs for year number 2. It is the Indianapolis Colts, so it's going to be horse team versus horse team. Interesting. So we do have some more upgrades here, apparently. Justin Stranad and Pat Surtain. Okay. So there's really not a whole lot to do here. I'm not even going to click these. I don't care. Let's sim a week, and hopefully we can take down Indianapolis. And we kind of get poo-pooed on, as I expected, losing 38-21. That is pretty unfortunate. However, this was only year 2. We still have another year. So let's get into the offseason, and hopefully we can repeat the success this year. Nope, that's not right. Hopefully we can repeat the success we had this year and take it even further and win the Super Bowl. But the Colts actually do win the Super Bowl, so at least we win to the future Super Bowl champions. I'm okay with that. It seems like in the regular season, overall literally doesn't matter at all, but once you get into the playoffs, it does. It's kind of interesting, because we were a lower overall than the Colts and we lost to them. We really didn't even have the best overall in the world, but we were still 13-4, so I don't know. But in terms of re-signings, again, there's nobody really here. I didn't know if anyone new was going to pop up, but I guess that doesn't really happen in this game like it does in some older games. So let's see who is going to be available in free agency. Hopefully there is going to be at least one player to take us over the edge, and I think I see that player. Derwin James is just sitting here in free agency. Let's offer him up a 6-year contract worth 110 mil, 109 points. I think that'll be enough, but I also kind of want to cut somebody to just bump it up a little more. So yeah, let's cut Ronald Darby. That would save us 10 mil to do that. He's just a depth player, so yeah, that's an easy decision. Not even going to think twice about that. And I'm not going to cut Tim Patrick because he is a fan favorite. Let's cut K'Wan Williams, just an older player, not even starting at this point, and Mike Purcell, another older player. So let's bump Derwin James's contract up even more just to guarantee it, because I know sometimes contracts in Madden, they're iffy. Like players, you can be in the lead by like 20 points and they still won't take it. So we're giving him 6 years, 125 million. Hopefully that is good enough. Is that worth it? No, but it's the last year of the rebuild. We kind of got to use our money on some big piece. And let's bring in Bobby Okereke just for shits and giggles, you know what I mean? We'll offer him 4 years. How much was that? 40.6. I might bump that up a little bit just to, guarantee it. 106 points, that sounds better. And let's see if we can bring in either of these two players. Okay, so just like that, we revamped this defense in a huge way, bringing in arguably the best safety in the entire NFL in Derwin James, and bringing in, honestly, a pretty underrated linebacker in Bobby Okereke. Stealing him from the Colts, who just knocked us out of the playoffs, is also a pretty good thing too. But yeah, this team is looking amazing. The offensive line is developing a ton. Really, we don't have many needs left on this team at all. I mean, D-line could be better, corner could be better, but there weren't any really upgrades we could even make in free agency. So I guess with that, let's get into the draft and hopefully we can finish out this roster. All right, so in the 2024 NFL draft, we have the number 28 overall pick, and admittedly, the more I play this game, the more I like the new scouting feature. Jesus Christ. Just because of stuff like this where it makes it harder, but if you have a position you know you want, you can fully scout them basically and know exactly how good they are. So I see 2 first-round talent defensive tackles in here and 1 first to second round talent player. But with the 28th overall pick, I'm going to take Kenny Bentley. He looks insane. He's 6'3", 296, only 21 years old, out of Auburn. He ran a 4.86 at the combine, put up 39 reps. He's an athletic freak. And look at those A's: A power moves, A finesse moves, A impact block, A tackle. And then everything else is a B. B pursuit, B hit power, B block shed, B awareness, B play rec. So yeah, Mans looks insane. Let's take him. He is hidden dev, as I would have suspected. 92 strength, 77 speed. That is gross. He looks like a very good player. And with our next pick, I think I'm going to take Blaine Stern. He's a linebacker out of Texas A&M. He's 6'3", 249 pounds, only 22 years old. He ran a 4.69 at the combine. Nice. 27 reps on the bench. I really love that A play rec, though. He has B block shed. I'm guessing he's better in finesse moves than power moves, considering he is only 249 pounds as a pass rusher. Obviously not good zone coverage, because again, he's a pass rusher, but let's take him. He has hidden dev. Okay, I'm getting pretty good at this whole drafting thing. I know what stats to look for certain players. I know what I'm doing a little bit now. Okay, I won't call myself the draft king, but you know, I'm getting there. Blaine Stern looks pretty good. I know I said I'm the draft king after the best player I drafted was like a 68 overall in the last draft, but forget about that one. I'm goated, all right? Here, just because of pure value, I'm going to take Byron Basley. That's kind of a sick name. Out of Georgia Tech, he's only 22 years old, ran a 4.86 at the combine and 40 reps on the bench. He's as much of a freak as the last guy. A play rec. His stats aren't as good, but he's really freaky. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but he looks really good. Let's take him. All right, he has hidden 2. That kind of surprises me. I thought he was going to have normal, but be a good overall. But yeah, we took 2 absolute studs at defensive tackle. I think I'm going to make 1 more pick, and then I will sim out the rest. All right, so I lied. I'm just going to sim out the rest of the draft. There wasn't really anyone there that I saw worth taking. There wasn't really anyone good at all. There was a fast tight end, but I didn't really know anything about anything else. I just knew he was fast. So I'm just going to sim out the rest of the draft, and hopefully it picks us some good final pieces on this team. Not that we really need them, but hopefully it still does. And I'm excited for this year number 3. Alright, so here is a recap of the draft. We had a very, very good draft. So Kenny Bentley is a 75 overall. I did move him to defensive end because he is lighter for a 3-4 defensive tackle. He's not quite a nose tackle. He's more of a 3-4 end. He has 80 power moves, 77 finesse moves, obviously the 77 speed, 92 strength, 74 block shed, 80 tackle. Very, very good player. Blaine Stern is a 73 overall. Now, he's not quite the player I thought he was. I thought he was a pass rusher, but he's just a balanced linebacker. He has solid power and finesse moves. He's okay in run defense. He's not good in coverage, but yeah, I don't really know what to do with him, actually, but he is a good player, just not a great player for our scheme. Byron Basley is also a stud. He's a 75 overall. He doesn't look quite as good as the other guy, but he does have 94 strength, 78 block shed, 78 tackle, 74 speed. Not the best in pass rush, but still a good player. And the CPU took a receiver named LaMarcus Hurd. He looks like a pretty good player. Hopefully he doesn't take a shit in my bed. Quan McNeil looks like a pretty good receiver too, so yeah, overall, probably one of the better drafts I've ever had. And let's get into year number 3, the final year of the rebuild. Alright, so here is a look at the team going into the third and final year of the rebuild. So obviously Russell Wilson has stayed at the same overall the whole time. 93 overall, he's been pretty good for us. The first year was iffy, but last year was pretty good. Javonte Williams, even though we went away from the run game, he was still good last year for the amount of carries he got. The receiving core is developing slowly but surely, obviously with Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler. Albert Okwuegbunam has developed pretty well. The offensive line, I'm definitely glad I decided to start the younger players because they have developed pretty well here. And then looking at the defensive side of the ball, this is probably the best safety core in the league with Justin Simmons and Derwin James. The cornerback room is great with Patrick Surtain, Nick Needham, mostly just Patrick Surtain, but the other two players are pretty good too. This D-line is really deep now with, what's his first name? Kenny Bentley and Byron Basley, and then the starters are pretty good too. The linebacker group has developed pretty well, and we've added some good pieces there, so I'm very happy with how this is going, and I'm very excited, which is what I meant to say, to see how this team does for the final year of the rebuild. But without further ado, let's sim to the end of the season, and hopefully we are in the playoffs. Alright, so at the mid-season point of year number 3, we are 5-2. Not as good as last year, obviously, but still very good. A winning record, very much so. So I'm very happy with that. I guess we don't really have to worry about re-signings, but there probably are a shit ton here. Oh yeah. We basically have to re-sign the whole team, so I'm glad we don't have to worry about that one, that's for sure. I might re-sign them off camera just in case we do come back to this rebuild for some reason. But yeah, we're doing very well at the mid-season point. I know I said I would sim to the end of the year, but I just thought it would be better to sim here first and then go to the end of the year, so that's what I'm gonna do. And now I will see you guys at the end of year number 3, and hopefully we are looking good. Alright, so at the end of year number 3, we do finish 10-7, which is barely good enough for the playoffs. We almost missed them. We tied the Chargers with our record, but we were just slightly better than them. We do have some upgrades here. Let's see what this is. Just some offensive linemen. And we do have a playoff blizzard. I didn't do this last year and we got smoked in the playoffs, so I'm gonna do it this year. Hopefully it's good luck or something, I don't know. Maybe. I don't know what kind of effect it has on Madden Sim, but it just kind of fucks with your mobility for the players. But let's check the season stats before we get into the playoffs. Russell Wilson was goated. Basically just an improvement on his season last year. 5,300 yards, 45 touchdowns, 13 picks is pretty high, but not the worst. Javonte Williams had 20 touchdowns. I see 420, hot funny. But 900 yards, 20 touchdowns. Melvin Gordon had 300 yards, only 3.4 yards per carry with 4 touchdowns. And then in terms of receiving, Courtland Sutton had 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. Jerry Jeudy had 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. KJ Hamler had 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. Albert Okwuegbunam had 800 yards and 9 touchdowns. That is like the best receiving season I've ever seen. In terms of blocking, the interior was great. Garrett Bowles and Dalton Reisner weren't amazing, but they were fine, I guess. And in terms of defense, 125 tackles for Bobby Okereke led the team, Joseph Jewell at 103. In terms of tackles for loss, 13 from DJ Jones, 11 from Draymond Jones. Bradley Chubb had 10, Randy Gregory also had 10, and somebody had 8, I don't know who that was. But Randy Gregory had 9.5 sacks, which led the team, so I think the biggest step down from this team compared to last year was the defense. It doesn't look like it was as good. The offense still looks like it was phenomenal, but the defense doesn't look as good. But Randy Gregory was still pretty good. Bradley Chubb only had 5.5 sacks. Draymond Jones had 4, and then some players had certain amounts, I don't know. Pat Surtain had 3 picks. Michael Ojemudia, Derwin James, and Nick Needham each had 2. So, yeah, we were second in offense, which is about what I would have expected, and 23rd for defense. So, yeah, we took a big step back in terms of defense. But for MVP, Russell Wilson comes in at number 2. No, that sucks. But, oh well, it doesn't really matter to us. The only thing you would get is an upgrade point, and that would be after the end of the year anyways. Comes in at number 2 for Offensive Player of the Year. No other Broncos, I don't think. For Defensive Player of the Year, it goes to Joey Bosa, and I don't think there are any Broncos in here at all. Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to Anthony Edwards of the Colts, no Broncos. Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Tremaine Gallimore of the Dolphins. And Kenny Bentley comes in at number 5, but that is the only Bronco here. So definitely a good season, but nowhere near as good as last year. But here we are taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. If I'm being honest, I am expecting to lose this game. I don't think we're going to make it past this one, but let's just sim it out. They have a very good defense. Their offense is beatable, though. Let's see if we can win. Oh my god. So, we could not win that one. I answered my question really quickly there. Getting beat 52-14 by the Steelers. Yikes. But yeah, unfortunately, that is it for this rebuild. Again, if you want me to revisit this one at some point, because it seems like we're just a year away, definitely let me know down in the comments, and also let me know what team you want me to do next, because if I pick your comment, I will sub to you, I'll shout you out, I'll tell people to also sub to you. I heart every comment, reply to most, so be sure to drop a comment, drop a like, a sub, turn on notifications. I'm just plugging everything. Follow me on Instagram, link in the description. But yeah, that is all for this video. Here's one final look at the defense. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you guys again in the next video. Goodbye.